Hello, YouTubers and NFL fans everywhere. This is Matt, the NFL Fanatic, with my Week 16, 2014 NFL predictions. Well, I know this is surprising because this video is coming out on a Monday and this current week is not over yet. However, for me, I wanted to try something different and try to be one of the first people to all my subscribers to have my thoughts on the next week. So, for any of my subscribers out there, any viewers, please let me know in the comment section if this is something that you'd appreciate me more doing by giving my videos on Mondays. So, let me know. Alright, to go on with the video. This week so far, I've done very well. I am 13-2 this week. And now overall for the year, I'm 147, 75-1. And that equals up to about 66% of the games. And this is, for me right now, this is probably the second best week I've had the entire year picking games. So I'm extremely happy and also very excited that getting up to about that 67, 68% goal is very well possible over the next 2 weeks with how I've been doing. And for everybody out there, for tonight's game, I am taking, again, the New Orleans Saints to beat the Chicago Bears. What a great week of football it has been, and still maybe yet to be coming up tonight with all the games. Congratulations to the New England Patriots, Denver Broncos, and Indianapolis Colts for all clinching their divisions and gaining their 3 playoff spots, along with the Arizona Cardinals gaining their first playoff spot since 2009. And that game against the St. Louis Rams, that was old school football. Rugged, hard-nosed, tough, and it was great. 6 field goals in the game, no touchdowns. So kudos to the Rams defense for a 3rd straight game, not allowing any touchdowns. But again, for Bruce Arians, he's my coach of the year. To have Drew Stanton go down, to have their backup go down, and now to have to rely on the backup for probably the next 2 weeks, it's a testament that they were able to get to the playoffs with all that going around them. And Todd Bowles, he is going to be an NFL head coach this year because of what he's had on the defensive side of the ball with no Darnell Dockett, no Darrell Washington, no Tyrann Mathieu, and others hurt. And still this defense is playing at a high level. Incredibly impressive. Let's see. Some other teams out there. Congratulations for New England dominating Miami. 41-13. I thought the key play of the game was right at the beginning when Jamie Collins blocked the field goal and Kyle Arrington was able to take it all the way back to the house. That really changed the game, and it set the tone for the game because New England would then go on to win 41-13. Ryan Tannehill had 2 interceptions that ended up for 2 touchdowns against the Dolphins, and after that, the Dolphins really had no chance. So kudos for New England to gain their 6th straight division title. They're the only 3rd team in NFL history to win 6 straight division titles. If they do it next year, they will break the NFL record. So kudos to them, and best of luck for them for their chasing the 1 seed. Same for Denver. Even though I do hope Peyton Manning is okay. I heard that he did injure his thigh and he had flu-like symptoms, but he was able to go through the game. And he did get a touchdown. Unfortunately, I had him as my fantasy quarterback, so he really didn't do that much. 225 and a touchdown. That's not really that great. But once again, they were able to run the ball effectively. C.J. Anderson is having a great spurt of games, and it's incredibly impressive to see the Denver Broncos adjust from the passing team that they have been for a majority of the year to a running team that has been very effective. And the Denver defense in its biggest moments stepped up and caused 2 big Phillip Rivers interceptions that iced the game. So kudos to Denver. And Indy, congratulations for knocking out Ryan Fitzpatrick. Because with the way your offense had played, again, Andrew Luck threw his 3rd pick 6 of the year. That's the 7th one, I think, this year overall. He's still 2nd in the league in turnovers behind Jay Cutler. And the fact that after that 1 turnover by Tom Savage was the last touchdown you got in the game, it was incredibly fortunate that the Colts survived that game. But again, they are now 13-0 against the Houston Texans all time, so kudos to them for that as well. But congrats for Indy. And Tom Savage, good luck fighting with Case Keenum for the quarterback spot in Houston. A couple of other nuggets. I want to congratulate the Dallas Cowboys for getting a very huge win over the Philadelphia Eagles, righting the wrong from Thanksgiving, 38-27. It was an unbelievable game to watch because Dallas was on their way to blowing out the Cowboys 21-0, and then the Eagles stormed back and scored 24 straight unanswered points, and then the Cowboys ended up going on a 16-3 run to end the game, and it was an incredible resolve for the Dallas Cowboys. Even though, once again, with their road record, I honestly think the Dallas Cowboys would rather play on the road than at home, since they are now 7-0. Romo has 18 touchdowns compared to 1 interception. DeMarco's averaging about 130 yards a game, even though his 89 last night was a little bit below average. And for Philadelphia, it's going to be one of those travesties that now, for all this time, when Dallas was rooting for Green Bay to beat you, when Dallas was rooting for Seattle to beat you, you now need the Indianapolis Colts to have the motivation to play their starters and beat the Dallas Cowboys. Because if you have a tied record, no matter what happens, you will win the division based on the divisional record. But kudos to the Dallas Cowboys this day, and especially kudos to Des Bryant for making Bradley Fletcher look like a fool. So, sorry to see that, Bradley Fletcher. A couple other things, let's see. Kudos to Seattle for knocking out San Francisco. It was a tough physical game. I felt bad for San Francisco because they put up a pretty good fight compared to it. But Seattle's defense is at a whole nother level. And now with Green Bay losing to Buffalo, Seattle, I think, will get the number 1 seed, and they'll go back to the Super Bowl. Because there is no way I am not taking the Seahawks at home again to get to the Super Bowl. That home field advantage is the best in the game. And when you can't even do anything with the teams they've beaten and how they've done it, the only team they beat, they lost to, ironically, was Dallas. But I think that Seattle is definitely in the great position. And San Francisco, look, it's a shame that they're 500. The first time they've been 500 this late in the Jim Harbaugh era. They've lost 3 straight. And I think that's also the first time they've lost 3 straight in the Harbaugh era. It's going to be sad to see him go because I know he's going to leave. But I know somebody's going to pick him up because he's too good of a coach. He turned that team around way too quickly and way too effectively not to. So, there's that. And then one more. I want to congratulate the Ravens and the Steelers and Bengals for all getting their big wins and them all improving to 9-4-1, 9-5, and 9-5 respectively. And this is why, again, the AFC North is the best division of football when you have 3 teams with 9 wins with half a game of each other. So, kudos to them. All right, so time for my picks. On Thursday, when the 2-12 Tennessee Titans go to the 2-12 Jacksonville Jaguars, I am taking the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then on Saturday night, when the 8-6 San Diego Chargers go to the 7-7 San Francisco 49ers, I'm going to take the San Diego Chargers. And then when the 9-5 Philadelphia Eagles go to the 3-11 Washington Redskins, I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles. And then on Sunday, when the 6-8 Minnesota Vikings go to the 7-7 Miami Dolphins, I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins. When the 9-5 Baltimore Ravens go to the 7-7 Houston Texans, I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens. When the 10-4 Detroit Lions go to the 5-9 Chicago Bears, or 6-9, when they take on the Chicago Bears, I'm going to take the Detroit Lions. When the 7-7 Cleveland Browns go to the 5-8-1 Carolina Panthers, I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns. When the 5-9 Atlanta Falcons go to the 6-8 or 5-9 New Orleans Saints, I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints. When the 10-4 Green Bay Packers go to the 2-12 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers. When the 8-6 Kansas City Chiefs go to the 9-5 Pittsburgh Steelers, I am taking the Pittsburgh Steelers. When the 11-3 New England Patriots go to the 3-10 or 3-11 New York Jets, I'm going to take the New England Patriots. When the 4-10 New York Giants go to the 6-8 St. Louis Rams, I'm going to take the St. Louis Rams. When the 8-6 Buffalo Bills go to the 2-12 Oakland Raiders, I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills. When the 10-4 Indianapolis Colts go to the 10-4 Dallas Cowboys, I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys. And then on the Sunday night game, when the 10-4 Seattle Seahawks go to the 11-3 Arizona Cardinals, I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks. And then on Monday night, when the 11-3 Denver Broncos go to the 9-4-1 Cincinnati Bengals, I'm going to take the Denver Broncos. All right, time for my thoughts on each game. Tennessee at Jacksonville. This is really one of the most pathetic. This is going to be the most pathetic Thursday night game in the history of this season. These are two teams with 2 wins each. So these two teams combined are 4-24. And this is a crapshoot game in mediocrity. I really can't defend either running back because Denard Robinson got hurt. I can't really defend either secondary because they've proven over the year that they both can get burned. But I'm going to take Jacksonville in this one. There's so many. The receivers are about even, and the quarterback's about even. So I'm going to take Jacksonville in this game for a couple of reasons. One, they're at home. That's a cheap little reason to take them, but I guess that's the only one I can think of for right now. And also, I've just seen Jacksonville over the last several weeks, and they are underrated as a 2-12 team. They have played teams at a better level and have been more competitive than people have given them. Tennessee, for the most part, for the majority of years, has been decisively beaten or blown out more often than Jacksonville. And now with Jake Locker hurting his shoulder, even if he could play, I think Blake Bortles has shown enough that he should be able to win this game. Because Jake Locker will either get hurt again, or he's going to cause a few mistakes. And even if he can't go, I don't think Charlie Whitehurst, even though he did beat them the last time, I think Blake Bortles can get this win just based on that defense. I think that defense is going to step up and play hard for Gus Bradley and limit this Titans offense, which is very limited anyway. And that's why I'm going to take the Jaguars to win. I feel that Jacksonville, just on their defense alone and how they played, have looked better than Tennessee. Could Tennessee win this game? Absolutely. That's how bad Jacksonville is. But I'm going to take Jacksonville based on the fact that they're home and their defense has just played better and they've looked better over the year than Tennessee has right now. San Diego at San Francisco. I am taking the San Diego Chargers based on the fact that, first of all, Frank Gore has concussion and Carlos Hyde got hurt. So I don't expect Gore to play next week. And with now them being mathematically eliminated, I don't really see why they need to put Frank Gore in that situation. And then also Chris Borland, their linebacker, got hurt, which will be huge. And I also feel that San Diego just has more to play for. Again, do the San Diego's running game exist really? No, it doesn't. It was hurting not to have Ryan Matthews out there. But the one thing that, and look, the San Diego have a pass rush? No, not really. They don't really get to the quarterback that often. But I feel that if you're looking at these two teams, Rivers and his team has played a lot better than Kaepernick and his team has played. Rivers has more weapons to use and he's playing more efficient. And I think the San Diego defense can limit Kaepernick a bit since he is the most sacked quarterback in the league with 49 sacks. He's been sacked 49 times. So I kind of feel that that's why I feel like they have a good secondary matchup because, again, their best secondary guy is Eric Reed. You can put Antoine Bethea as second best. But with the receivers they have Floyd, they have Allen, they have Gates. That's going to be a tough matchup for that young secondary or average secondary at best to deal with. I feel that Rivers is going to be a lot more motivated because they know that if they lose this game, Cincinnati makes the playoffs no matter what happens over the next 2 weeks. And I don't think San Francisco will be that big of a pushover, but I'm going to take San Diego based on the fact that Rivers has played a lot better. San Francisco at home this year really has not been as effective as Levi Stadium or Candlestick Park was. And I just feel San Diego just has enough more talent, a little more drive to win this game than San Francisco does. I know San Francisco maybe wants to put Jim Harbaugh out on the right note, but the San Diego team's drive to the playoffs will beat San Francisco. Kind of just drive for respect. The game should be fun, and San Francisco has a chance, but I'm going to take San Diego to beat the Niners. Philadelphia at Washington. I'm going to take Philadelphia, even though they, again, held the ball for only 18 minutes and for the second straight game. The Cowboys were able to get another few turnovers. They caused 4 turnovers, and Mark Sanchez threw one bad interception that cost them the game. The other one was just a tip ball, even though that was a bad throw. I didn't think that was a tip ball. I just feel that they'll beat this Redskins team. This Redskins team is absolutely pathetic. Colt McCoy re-aggravated his neck injury, and I don't expect him to play. And then I actually saw a little bit of the old Robert Griffin against the Giants the other day. Unfortunately, no, he did fumble, but he did make some athletic plays, and he did get a touchdown pass. But going up against this Eagles offense, which can score at will against this Redskins secondary, which got burned by Odell Beckham Jr. for 145 yards and 3 touchdowns, that Philadelphia offense has way too many weapons not to do the same. I also think that just Colt or RG3 will not play a better game than Kirk Cousins. And the Redskins, they might have the ball long, but they're not going to be as effective as the Cowboys in scoring. And I think that Philadelphia Eagles defense will stop Morris. They'll hold him, which will put the ball in RG3 and Colt McCoy's hands. And that's never a good thing with how bad this team has gone with doing with them at quarterback. So, again, a pretty easy pick. I think Philadelphia, Sanchez will bounce back. He'll have a nice, solid game. Will it really mean that much? It means for the win, but it will really be impressive. Not really for Sanchez. But I think Sanchez in that offense has way too many weapons. And that defense is too talented not to stop this weak Redskins offense, if it's by the quarterback or the whole team. So that's what I'm taking Philadelphia to beat Washington. Miami over Minnesota. I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins to beat the Minnesota Vikings based on the fact that Miami just has more talent. That's how I kind of look at it. I think both teams are very similar, even though, again, Miami's just coming off a blowout loss to New England, and Minnesota's coming off that very sad loss yesterday, the Detroit Lions, where they put Blair Walsh out there to kick a 68-yard field goal. I felt incredibly bad for him because I was like, there's no way a kicker can kick it that far. It would have been incredibly impressive if he did, and he would have broken Jason Elam or Matt Prater's record of the longest field goal in NFL history. But I just feel that Tannehill can beat Bridgewater. Lamar Miller and Thomas, they can beat Matt Asiata with the running game. And just also, Miami has a better receiving core, and Miami has a decent enough pass rush like Detroit's that he's going to cause Bridgewater some problems. Congratulations for him getting a career high in completion percentage with 66%. He completed 33 out of 41 passes. Kudos to him. But I feel that, that secondary is going to be tough. He's going to have Finnegan and Grimes out there, and with the limited receiving core that they have in Minnesota, I think that's going to be a bit too much for the Vikings to handle. I think this game can be very competitive because they're both similar teams, and that Viking defense is no joke because they held that Detroit offense to only 17 points, where the last 2 weeks they had scored 34. So kudos to them. And I think Miami's defense can hold Bridgewater's offense down enough. They're at home. Minnesota on the road this year. Let's see, I think they've only gotten one win on the road, so they're proving that they're not a good road team. And yes, that's what I'm going to take Miami to beat Minnesota, just because I think Miami just has more talent to work with than Minnesota, and I'll take the home points as well for that reason. Baltimore at Houston. I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens. I am not being a homer. I just feel that the Ravens are playing the Texans at the right time. The Baltimore Ravens are coming off a 8-sack performance where they only held the Jaguars to 4 field goals. Again, is it bad that we only could score 20 points and that we only scored 1 offensive touchdown because the other one was a block punt? Yeah, that's frustrating. And look, we are playing a very talented Houston Texans defense led by J.J. Watt, who's my Defensive Player of the Year and a definite MVP candidate. I don't think he's going to get it with the Texans not making the playoffs. But I just think that we have enough offense that we can beat this Colt team. Because the one thing, or this Texans team, based on the fact that Ryan Fitzpatrick is now out for the year, Ryan Mallett is out for the year, and now the Houston Texans have to go either back to Case Keenum, who started about 5 or 6 games last year and did not win, and that does include 2 losses to the Jaguars, 2 losses to the Jags, or Tom Savage, the 4th-round pick out of Pittsburgh, who on his first snap of the game, he had a botched snap and he fumbled the ball and the Colts recovered, leading to the only other touchdown in the game. And I just feel that we can cause enough pressure to make him jittery, to make him cause mistakes. And I feel that our secondary, with probably no Andre Johnson again, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be limited enough that we can still win this game. I think that Houston's defense is about 25th overall, so I think we can run over them. And again, this is a motivational game for Gary Kubiak, and I feel like he's going to want to play very well, to show this Texan team why they maybe shouldn't have got rid of him. And even though he does enjoy being a coordinator because he does get to go back into the classroom with all the guys. But I just feel that the Ravens have a lot more talent. We have a better quarterback situation, and our defense can outplay Houston's, and we can score enough points to allow our defense to cause Savage or Keenum to make enough mistakes to win this game. This could be competitive just because how limited our offense has looked over the year, especially with that Houston defense. But I think Baltimore's quarterback and overall offense can beat Houston's due to the fact that now it's Tom Savage or Case Keenum leading the Texans instead of Ryan Fitzpatrick. So that's why I'm going to take the Ravens to beat the Texans. Lions over Bears. I am taking the Detroit Lions to beat the Chicago Bears based on the fact that Detroit they dominated on Thanksgiving. They still have a decent running game. The Bears don't have Brandon Marshall this time, which will help their secondary. They have the number 2 overall defense. Stafford played very well. They beat Chicago last time in Chicago on a pretty, clutch play. I don't trust Chicago's defense to stop Calvin again. And all those same factors, except I guess for them, what's worse is Chicago doesn't have Marshall this time. I feel like both these teams haven't changed. And Detroit just is on a better level, especially with their defense, compared to Chicago's. And this is one of my locks of the week again. I'm going to lock that Detroit is going to beat the Bears, just based on the fact that I haven't really seen any differences out of the two teams since the last time they met, which was about 3 weeks ago. Nothing's changed. The Bears still have a really bad defense. I feel bad for Jay Cutler that he got criticized by his offensive coordinator publicly, because I know that's something for the Bears, organization that did not want to come out public. But you have to understand that a lot of Bears fans feel that way about Cutler, that they do have buyer's remorse, and they feel that Jay cannot lead this team to what they need to go, to where they want to go, which is the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I'm going to take Detroit over Chicago just based on the fact that Detroit and Chicago are still the same teams from a few weeks ago. Nothing's really changed. And the defense in their running game can hold down the Bears enough to win. So that's what I'm taking the Lions over the Bears. The Browns over the Panthers. This might be a bit of an upset, especially with how bad Johnny Manziel played. He went 10-16 for 81 yards, and he had 2 interceptions. He had 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He should have had 3, but it got called back. But I feel that Cincinnati was angry last week after getting humiliated by the Pittsburgh Steelers and blown out by the Pittsburgh Steelers 42-21. That's number 1, and they were extremely motivated. 2, Cincinnati has a impressive running game when it gets out. Jeremy Hill ran for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns, and when you got a guy like that cooking on cylinders, it's going to be hard not to win a game with that. And Carolina does not have that. Carolina does not have nearly as good a secondary. I also think that it's an interesting matchup of 2 Heisman winners. The 2010 Heisman winner and Cam Newton, if he can come back, compared against the 2012 Heisman winner in Manziel. I think that Johnny Manziel has more weapons to use than Cam Newton does. And I feel that he can make some throws to those guys and really make the Panthers have fits about trying to get him down. I think he's going to look at the game tape and work on his mechanics and improve on what he did bad, which was basically the entire game. So he can improve. He's going to be able to look at some game film and improve his game. And I just feel with what Cleveland's talent has overall, even though Joe Hayden and Justin Gilbert don't play, that'll be huge, and that will that'll help Carolina tremendously. But I don't think Carolina has enough at home to maybe beat this Brown team, just because I know that Brown defense is going to be alive. Their secondary is way better than Carolina's. And also, Cleveland would like to beat Carolina because also Carolina has not beaten an AFC North team this year. So I'm going to hang my hat on those. I think Carolina, if Johnny Manziel plays like he did, they probably might win this game. And I think Manziel is going to improve enough that defense will show up a bit, and that offensive line will stop that Carolina defensive line enough for their running game to get going, which they still want to do. That's still the Browns' MO is to run first, then pass. That the Browns will win this game in a tight one. So, again, that's why I'm going to take the Browns to beat the Panthers. New Orleans over Atlanta. New Orleans is at home. That's the only legitimate reason I think New Orleans still just has more talent. And even though, look, Matt Ryan and them have looked decent over the last few weeks, again, they only lost by, 3 points to, or 6 points to Green Bay. They lost by 7 to Pittsburgh. So they're putting up fights. But I just got to go with Breeze on this one. I think the Saints have to win a home game finally. You can't lose. You can't beat the New Orleans Saints and go on from being 18-0 at home over the last 3 years under Sean Payton to dropping your last 5 home games. That's going to be a culture-changing moment to see the Atlanta Falcons and Panthers, along with everybody else that went in the Dome and won. Do I think Atlanta can win this game? Absolutely. The Saints have already proven that they don't really have that home mystique anymore. But I think with Atlanta's secondary, I think Breeze will use that home energy to use his offense to outgun Ryan. Because just like Ryan did in Week 1 when the Falcons won 37-34 in overtime, I think that's the exact thing that's going to happen. But it's going to be the exact same type of game, except it's going to be Breeze being able to lead this team over Ryan due to their home field. And that's what I'm thinking of the Saints. I think this is going to be a very exciting game, a very offensive-minded game, 2 evenly matched teams. But I'm going to take the home points on this one, and I just expect Breeze to get some confidence from Monday night if they win, and pretty much eliminate the Falcons in the playoffs by beating this Falcon team in a clutch and exciting shootout between 2 of the better offenses in the game. That's what I'm going to take New Orleans to beat Atlanta. Green Bay over Tampa. There was a part of me that wanted to take Tampa, but I'm like, well, Tampa's offense is not nearly as good as Buffalo's. It's McCown and Orton. Tampa's, pretty much lost the majority of their games. Last team they beat were the Redskins, so that's really not that impressive. And I just can't go against Rodgers. I think, look, Aaron Rodgers against the Bills the other day had his worst game ever as a pro. 17 of 43, 185 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The first time ever he had a game with no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. The second time he's had, he's had no touchdowns and multiple interceptions and a career high in incompletions. So kudos to the Buffalo Bills defense for doing what it did, because that shows how good that defense is. And if they get a quarterback and they get another big receiver, this Bills team can make some waves into the playoffs for the first time since '99. I will say that. And Jim Schwartz, with what you've done, you may earn yourself another head coaching job somewhere. I am telling everybody out there that's watching this video, if you're in a market for a new head coach, you might want to give Jim Schwartz a job, because of what he's done with that defense, he can do that with some other defenses. I'm going to take Green Bay. I think this is a game that they have to win. This is a Tampa team that is absolutely pathetic. I think they're the number 1 overall pick right now in the draft standings, so they're number 1 in that. And I just feel that Rodgers should beat up that secondary. Eddie Lacy should be able to run through that Tampa defense a bit more, especially with Gerald McCoy getting hurt. And also, Green Bay's defense will get some turnovers, because Carolina's did it the last week, and pretty much the Tampa has fumbled and caused a lot of turnovers on themselves a lot this year anyway. So that's what I'm going to take Green Bay over Tampa. Green Bay losing to Buffalo, I can somewhat see that. They're not going to lose to this Bucs team. Can it be competitive? Yeah, it could, because just like the Jaguars and maybe just like the Jets, they're an underrated squad. Their record doesn't show it, but the way they've played games has. And that's what this Bucs team has done for a majority of the year. They've been in games, but they just haven't been able to win them. And I think it's going to be a little bit more decisive with Green Bay. But I would just say Tampa's going to put up a fight, Green Bay, just like Buffalo did. But they're not going to be nearly as successful, because they don't nearly have a good pass rush, and they don't nearly have as good a secondary as what Buffalo has. So the game should be fun. But I'm going to take the Packers. You can't go against. I don't think they're going to lose back-to-back games, especially against this Bucs team. That's why we're going to take the Packers over the Bucs. That's my second lock of the week. Green Bay over Tampa. Kansas City at Pittsburgh. I am taking Pittsburgh based on the fact that Kansas City really has no wide receiver offense. Still, after 15 weeks, it's been over 1 year since the Kansas City Chiefs, since Alex Smith has thrown a touchdown to a wide receiver. That is unbelievable how this team has gotten 8 wins from that. But kudos to them, and kudos for beating the Raiders like they did, because they needed that revenge. But I think if you look at Pittsburgh, they have a good enough run defense that they can get to Charles. They don't have to worry about the second. They don't have to worry about the receiving core. So Dick LeBeau is going to be able to blitz and blitz and blitz and get after Alex Smith. Do they have to worry about Jamal Charles? That's their biggest threat. And if Jamal Charles can run through that defense, if he can run through that defense, it's going to be a much more competitive game. But I think Pittsburgh has enough offense at home to beat this Chief team. Because Big Ben can throw it to a wide receiver. Big Ben can actually get it to receivers and get touchdowns from them. Alex Smith cannot. And he hasn't done it for a whole year. And I think the Pittsburgh defense will do enough to stop Jamal where Le'Veon can outdo Jamal in this game. That's what I kind of see happening here. I think Pittsburgh has a better receiving core. They have a better quarterback matchup. And I just feel Kansas City won't be able to match that because they're gonna get a good enough lead where they're gonna have to throw, and Alex Smith will get exposed by the Steeler defense, and the Pittsburgh Steelers will win this game, setting up an AFC North division, the AFC North division game with Cincinnati the week after. Oh, and kudos for William Gay for getting his third interception of the year and his third pick six of the year. So kudos to you there. But that's what I'm taking Pittsburgh over Kansas City. New England at the Jets. It's New England and the Jets. Case closed. And that's my third lock of the week. That's pretty much, it's New England with Brady and them. And it's the New York Jets. They beat the Titans by 5 points. And there was no score in the history of the league that was 16-11 before that point. So kudos to the Jets for winning, but that really kind of hurt them because they went from being one of the second overall pick to now being the sixth overall pick in the draft. And for the Jets, they need to get a quarterback, so the higher the pick, the better. Just for their chances. But there's really nothing to say here. This is Darrelle Revis' first game as a Patriot going back to New York. So that should be fun. But again, New England, they're rolling through. It's the Jets. No way they win. Okay, that's what I'm taking the New England Patriots to beat the Jets. Giants at Rams. I'm going to take the Rams here just based on the fact that the New York Giants have been very lucky to play two bad defenses in the Redskins and Titans over the last 2 weeks. They're not playing a bad defense this week. They're playing the St. Louis Rams defense, which again, like I said earlier, third straight game without a touchdown. That's incredibly impressive. And knowing how bad Eli Manning has looked under pressure, he is going to get whipped around. He is going to get knocked down. He's going to make mistakes, and that secondary will capitalize on those mistakes. And I don't think they're going to get nearly as much offense as they have had over the last couple weeks. Unless Odell Beckham Jr. can make Janoris Jenkins look pretty bad, but I trust Janoris Jenkins enough to hold his own against Beckham, which limits the Giants' offense to me tremendously. And that'll be enough for Sean Hill, who's going against the Giant defense that's gotten gashed a bit by some lesser receiving cores this year, to win this game. I think it can be competitive due to Giants and Rams, two underachieving teams. But I think the Rams defense will carry this team, and this will be the last one the Rams get all year. So that's what I'm taking the Rams to beat the Giants. Bills at Raiders. The Oakland Raiders just got blown up by the Chiefs 31-6 or 31-13. So they didn't get blown out, but they lost pretty much decisively to the Chiefs. The Bills have a better offense and they have about the same defense. So I feel bad for Derek Carr. He's going to get whipped around. Kind of like with the Rams, kind of the same thing. I expect the Bills, their offense will move more down the field. Derek Carr's not going to have any time to throw. If Aaron Rodgers had a terrible game, Derek Carr, you might have your worst game of the year with how good this Bills defense is going to be. I think they can run the ball a lot better down Oakland's throat. And I think using Watkins and Woods, Kyle Orton will make enough plays to get this Bills offense just enough so their defense can take over and win this game. It should be a fun game to see how Buffalo or Oakland responds. If Buffalo can continue their momentum to get their first winning season since 2004, or if the Raiders can maybe somehow pull off their last upset of the year by beating this Bills team, which is coming off their high. So, but again, I'm going to take the Bills. Too good against the Packers. Raiders blew it against the Chiefs. Easy enough. Indianapolis at Dallas. This is my game of the week. I'm extremely excited for this game. These are two evenly competitive teams, but I am taking the Dallas Cowboys just because I feel that the Dallas Cowboys have a bigger strength in the running game than Indy because Dallas has one of the number one running back in the league. Their offensive line can get through to that Colt defensive line. And also, I just feel that Andrew Luck, they can get a few turnovers from Andrew Luck. Again, he's second in the league in turnovers. He threw his third pick six of the year yesterday. And I think Dallas, even though they are at home, where they are 3-4, and they've lost their last three at home, so that might give Indy an advantage. I just feel that Dallas is now in a great position where their fans should be motivated. They should be motivated to play this home game in front of their crowd because they realize how good this Cowboy team is, and it's a heck of a lot different from previous Dallas Cowboy teams. If Andrew Luck and that offense can get through to that weak Dallas secondary, like Jeremy Maclin did to Brandon Carr, or if Reggie Wayne or T.Y. Hilton abused Bradley Fletcher like Dez Bryant did, then this game can be very competitive. But I think Dallas will be able to control the clock, and I think Andrew Luck will have one or two big turnovers that will cost the Colts this game based on what the Cowboys have at their disposal. It should be a great game. Two teams that have dominated some games, not looked good in others, but they both are quality teams, and they both look like teams that are leading into the playoffs. I'm going to take Dallas. I just was too impressed with what they did against Philadelphia. Look at all the adversity they had, and I've been kind of unimpressed with Indianapolis over the last couple weeks with how they've survived games to not take the Cowboys in this game. It's going to be a fun game, competitive game. Indy definitely has a chance to win. I'm going to take Dallas at home. They're motivated, they're relaxed, and I think they'll get this home win to at least go to 500 at home, so maybe they'll gain some confidence in having a home playoff game against probably the Detroit Lions in the playoffs. That's the thing in the Cowboys over the Colts. Seattle over Arizona. Seattle's defense over the last 4 games has given up only 27 points, so that's a little bit under 7 points a game. Arizona starting their third-string quarterback, Ryan Lindley, because Stan has a grade 2 MCL sprain, even though he should be back before the playoffs. Seattle beat them pretty well last year, even with Palmer. And I just feel that Seattle has enough offense and a better quarterback that they can make enough plays to where their defense can outlast Arizona's and win this game. And I just don't trust Ryan Lindley. When you have a guy that's starting probably his fifth overall game. He's 0-4. He's thrown no touchdowns compared to 7 interceptions, and he made one good throw to John Brown on the third down all the game against the Rams. I think the Seahawks just are salivating at this opportunity because they know that if they win out now, they can become the number 1 seed and get back to the Super Bowl for the second straight year, which is incredibly impressive in this day and age to attempt the repeat. I think Arizona's defense, with what they did, last time a few weeks ago, 19-3, they'll put up a fight, and they will be in this game just because I know how Arizona's defense is just as good and can be just as competitive as Seattle's, but Seattle's offense will do enough where Ryan Lindley cannot, and that offense cannot. Even though, congrats to Dan Williams, that practice squad running back. He's at about 5 yards a carry a game. 5 yards per carry a game, which has been incredibly impressive since they lost Andre Ellington. So kudos to him. So that's what I'm thinking the Seahawks to beat the Cardinals. And finally, Denver over Cincinnati. Andy Dalton is playing in prime time. He is 2-9. He has thrown 1 touchdown to 8 interceptions. He has a quarterback rating of about 40. That's all I need to know about against this Bronco team. Look, I think if you look at what Le'Veon Bell did against them at home the last time they played him, he was able to gash him pretty good. I think C.J. Anderson, with the way he's been playing in that offensive line, he can do the same thing, and Peyton can make timely throws. And I just feel that Denver's defense will get through to Dalton. He'll get sacked a bit. And I just don't think that Peyton will be able to make a few more plays. Even though he hasn't been playing at a Peyton-esque level over the last few weeks, I think he can play enough at a level that Peyton can play at to beat Dalton. And again, I'll just go back to 2-9 in prime time, 1 touchdown, 8 interceptions, about a quarterback rating of 40-50. That's bad enough for me to not take him in this moment in prime time against the Denver Broncos. So those are my thoughts and picks for this week. Again, my 3 locks are, I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles over the Redskins as a lock, the Packers over the Bucks as a lock, and the Patriots over the Jets as a lock for anybody that's interested in my lock picks. And that's it. So good luck to all teams, players, fantasy owners and fellow prognosticators. And that's it. And again, for all my subscribers out there or any viewers of my videos, ask me if doing a video on Mondays is better. That you get my picks first before most other people due to the week ending. So just let me know. So that's it. So until next week, this is Matt the Fanatic signing off. Till then, so long.